Hey guys, this is Sparkle Soldier here, and this is part 4 on what if Deku had Starforce Mega Man powers, a fiery bull fight. And I hope you like this video, and I hope you subscribe. While Zuko was at home, he thinks to himself, this sucks so much. And Mega says, what's the matter, Zuko? It's not a big problem. And Suki says, oh, it's gonna be a big problem! And Mega says, humans have complicated feelings. And Suki says, oh really? Would it be affecting you, all your friends, or enemies know where you are? And Mega says, fair point, but I'd rather not be dealing with this argument. We still have more EM wave beings to deal with. And Suki says, right? And Mega says, why don't you take a very cool chill pill and relax, get some rest. And Suki says, yeah, I do have school to go to class 1A. And Suki slept, and next morning, Suki gets back into his school uniform and getting ready and packing and says, Mega, are you ready? And Mega says, sure. Always wondered what school is like. And Zuki says, well, it's going to be interesting for you. Well, Omega then says, is it going to be interesting? And Zuki says, sure, why not? And Zuki left the house and goes to UA. And Mega says, what does a school work in UA? And Zuki says, I haven't really been to UA, but support, I obviously know that you have to do some tech gear and making support items. And Mega says, that's interesting. And Zuki says, right? And Mega says, but what about class 1A? I guess it's how you look at it. And while going to UA, Zuko had made it to class 1A with Omega. And Omega says, alright, this is where we are going. And Zuko says, now, be cool. Alright, I'll be cool. And no talking either. And Mega says, I thought we were over this. And then Zuko opens the door and hears a loud argument with a loud person. You're violating school policy! And Zuki then says, wait, I recognize this voice. And sees his former class rep, Ida. And Omega says, hey, isn't that... Yep, telling Omega. And Ida says, you're putting your foot on the table is violating school policy. And blonde-haired kid with spiky hair says, huh? And then Ida says, don't you know how recklessly you're violating school policy? And Bakugo says, does your old school have a stick up their ass? Or is it just you? And then Zuko nods to Bakugo. That's what he has. And not saying it out loud, but in his thoughts. And then Ida says, how frightfully using your manners. And then Ida says, fine, let's reintroduce ourselves. My name is Tenya Ida. I am from Soe High. And Bakugo says, Some, huh? So you think you're better than me? And Suku nods no, not even close. Then Bakugo says, well, you prep boy schoolers always think you're better than me. Well, guess what? Katsuki Bakugo will beat you and will shut you up. And Tenya says, you're using violence on classmate? Are you really sure you're in the right school? And then when they were arguing, and a certain person says, "Hey, it's Starforce Mega Man!" And Suki then says, "Eh?" And all the students look at him, and Suki says, "I wasn't expecting people to figure that one out quick." And Omega says, "Well, it was a big showing." And Suki says, "Hush!" And then all the students were looking at him, and a purple-haired girl was looking at him as well, but in a straight stare. And she says, Harp, is this the person that you were talking about? About Omega?" And Harp says, "Yes, Miss Jiro, that is the user of Omega." And Jiro smiles. And when Suki was getting surrounded by his classmates in all excitement, he also hears another person voice, "Hey, I know that messy hair anywhere." And Suki then sees the same girl that he saved from the zero pointer. Hey, you're okay. I'm glad." And the girl says, "Thanks to you, I would have been squashed." And Suki says, "It's no problem." And Mega says, "You're blushing." And Suki says, "I'll show you." "Hey, wait a minute." Trying to have a little fight with Chaco being confused a bit. And Ida says, "Suki Midoriya, I didn't expect to have seen your quirk in action. I thought you were quirkless. I guess I was a early bloomer." And Ida says, "But you did it so quickly. Takes time to adjust your quirk." "Well, I got used to it real quick." And while they were talking, they hear a certain voice behind Achaka. "Are you guys about done squabbling?" And all the students were surprised that a man behind them was sleeping on the floor, lying on the floor. And then the man drinks something and says, "Can you be quiet? You're making lots of noise. And get into your classroom seats." And all the students get into their classroom seats. And the man walks into their classroom and says, "My name is Principal Zawa, and I'll be your teacher. Took about 40 minutes. Not good enough. That's terrible timing." And all the students were confused. And Zuku was also weirded out on that comment. And Omega says, "So this is teaching." And Zuku says, "Nope, but this is just a unique case, let's just say." And Omega says, "Got it." And Zawa says, "Alright, we'll do the outside preparations on how your quirk works." And all this, Ashaka says, "Should we do our preliminary first?" "Yes, but you're in my classroom, and you're my students, so I do whatever I want." And Zoa says, "Now get into your changing room, and get in your physical gear." And all the students have changed into their PE clothes. And Zuku says, "Whew, that was close, and I thought somebody would notice you." And Mega says, yeah, I guess I have to be quiet on you sometimes." And Zuki says, "And don't attract others." And then when he said that, some students look at him, yo, and Kirishima looks at him. "Are you okay? You're talking to yourself, bro." And Suki says, "Yeah, just peppering me up on third talk." And Kirishima says, "Oh, alright." And then Suku and all class 1A gets out of a changing room and then gets ready. And Zawa says, "Alright, we're doing a test on how versatile your quirk is." And the first one that took first is Zuku Midoriya. And Suki says, huh? What? And Azawa says, you took first place in the exam, so it's an easy choice. And Suki says, gee, thanks. And then Suki holds a ball, and Azawa says, you have to throw this ball as far as you can. And Suki says, right. And then Suki says, Omega, are you ready? And Omega says, this is gonna be easy. And Suki transforms into Starforce Mega. And all the students were amazed. And Zawa says, I thought there were no hero gears in it. And Suki then says, oh, well, about that. It's kinda required to be in there. And Zawa rolls his eye and says, I'll make this exception for you. Now get to work. And Zukyu transforms his hand using Omega's head, and then says, Ray, putting the ball into Omega's mouth, and says, fire! And firing up to the stratosphere. And Zawa says, it is infinity. And all the students were amazed on Zuku's first try and how simple it is. And Zawa says, simple, huh? Let's make a bet. If one of you gets last place, you'll be suspended from UA. And all the students were shocked to hear, and they say, you can't do that, we worked hard to get in here. And Zawa says, yes, that is true, but other heroes worked much more harder. They risked their lives, and this is a game to you? I'll allow that to slide. Now get to work. And all the students were not taking the last place, and Zuku was honestly all around getting a first place, because Starforce Mega Man is just that powerful. He's a runner-up for second place in power scaling. Let's see, he could lift a train with minimum ease, making that a true feat, and he's so fast that he outruns the black hole, or beats us fast going back and forth from Earth in a couple of seconds. And yeah, I'll leave out the feats, but he has lots of big ones. And Suku then says, alright, didn't take last place. And Suku was honestly happy that he didn't take any last place. Made it to first place, while having Bakugo being pissed off not being in first. And Omega says, of course, what do you think would happen? I'm used to these trainings. And Suki says, right, I forgot you were a soldier. And Omega says, now, let's get back. And going back home, Suku was honestly tired and mostly stressed out dealing with Omega's occasional talks. But when he goes back home, a certain person says, well, Miss Jiro, do you want to face him? And Jiro says, nah, I'll meet him in school. And Harp says, okay, as you wish, Miss Jiro. And when Jiro was going back to her house, she goes to bed and falls asleep. And Harp, note, then transforms Jiro into her cyber being form and says, now, Omega, it's time to face your punishment. And going after Omega. And then Omega feels a error, a attacker, and then says, wake up, Suku, got somebody. And Suki says, huh? What's up? By getting up, and I'm sensing change in EM waves, and it's a big problem. I haven't sensed it anywhere else. And Suki then says, somebody can automatically change their EM waves? Oh, this is going to be a problem. And then Omega and Suki then go into their Starforce Mega Man form and says, let's do this. And Suki looks around and trying to find the EM wave user, and when they do, Heart Note uses a strum on her guitar and saying, look behind you, and firing sound a wave, and Suki gets hit caught into a surprise attack from Heart Note, and Omega says, Heart Note, should have figured. I haven't sensed your EM wave patterns for a while. And Heart Note says, thanks for the compliment. And Omega says, be careful. She knows how to use sound waves to produce. And Heart Note says, not just that. And using Jiro's ears and controlling, and Zuku then realized that she's gonna create another sound wave stronger than that. Omega, we need to cancel out her sound wave. And Omega says, right, now, Whirlwind Stride from Cryogenesis attack that Zuku had in Omega's card, and says, time to tone down this songbird, and both collide with Whirlwind of Ice and Heart Note's sound. And when they were having a crazy clash of dealing with their strongest moves, Jiro hears loud noise and can't stay sleeping. And Suki then looks at the user. Looks like Heart Note can't hold the user. Is she fully not controlled to her? Looks like if we wake up the user, we can probably stop her. And then Zuku then uses a unique data chip and says, alright, alarm! Zuku uses alarm and then makes the loudest sound, waking up Jiro. And Jiro says, wait a minute, why am I in my Heart Note form? And Zuku was confused as well. Looks like she can fully use her healing wave. I'm guessing it's probably because of her sleeping. She can't fully use it. And looking at Omega, alright, I didn't know about that, but she could use her consciousness from her sleep to not have any problems similar to possess, but like possessing. This is more, nobody is going to have any problems controlling. And Suki says, well, this is interesting. And Jiro says, Heart Note, why did you use my body? And Heart Note says, Jiro. And Suki then says, Jiro? And Jiro goes back to her house and having a talk with Heart Note. And Suku then says, I think it's better to not follow them this time. And Omega says, I disagree, but it's probably for the best. And Suku goes back and sleeps while Jiro and Heart Note were having a conversation. And she was wondering why was Heart Note taking control of her body and fighting Mega Man. And Heart Note explains everything about the Xeno waves and that they were trying to take over the Earth, and she was using her body to take out the traitor. And Jiro was a little angry for what she did, but Heart Note then realized Jiro would never do that to her, so she changed sides now. And Jiro smiles and says, it's fine, I'll forgive you, but do not do that again. And Heartnote says, it is my wish, your wish, my lady. And then Jiro smiles and says, alright, time to get some rest. And then Jiro and Heartnote go to sleep, and Suku was going to take a rest. Then a certain EM wave struck, and another Xeno wave came across, and it is looking for Omega, and says, where is that traitor? He'll make the day he betrayed us. He'll face Torios, the strongest Xeno wave there is. And sensing the waves of EM waves changing and trying to find him, and Suku gets up in the morning and walks to school, and Omega says, are you sure she won't try it again? And Suku says, it's fine, she won't. She was mostly sleeping, I could tell. And Omega says, what about Heartnote? We both know she would probably do it again. Yeah, probably, but I don't think so. And Omega says, we'll see. And going back to school, and sees Jiro, and sits down while not looking at her by face, but knowing her secret. And Suku deals with the test, and Omega says, ugh, this is so boring. I thought it was going to be more fun. And Suki says, shh, you said you wanted to see the first time treatment. There it is. And Mega says, this is so boring. And Suki says, be quiet. I'm going somewhere where it ain't boring. Wait, Mega! And Mega leaves. And Suki says, for the love of Christ, you really need to cut it out sometimes. And when school was done, All Might comes out of the door and says, don't worry, because I am here, walking like a true hero. And all the students were amazed to see All Might 2 come out of the door. Alright, heroes, we are going to be wearing our hero costume and facing a challenge. And all the students were amazed, and Suki then looks with a dead face, saying, hell, this is gonna be hard to deal with. And Zuku gets on a different type of gear, while Omega wanders around. Wear something to have fun. Then, when Omega was looking around, he sees a red EM wave, and it was Torios. That's what you get for betraying us, Omega. Hitting him with enough force, and Omega says, been a while, Torios. You haven't lost your edge. Enough, traitor. You face your punishment for what you did. Give us the key. And Omega says, no way, Torios. And both fight, and Omega not willing to give Torios anything. But when they were fighting, Zuku was getting his gear on. Well, not Starforce gear, but regular gear. And all the students were confused. Why isn't Zuku in his Starforce Mega Man? And Zuku says, it's because it's taken a while to upload. And the students were confused and curious, but they'll buy it, I guess. Then All Might draws which student will be villain team and the other being hero team. And it is Bakugo and Ida versus Zuku and Jiro. And they get into their position, and Jiro talks to Zuku. And Jiro asks, so, Starforce, you saw me, didn't you? And Suzuki says, well, it was a somewhat good observation. While Heartnote was said your name. So, is it me and Heartnote talked it out and says she won't do it anymore. And Suzuki says, that's good. And Jiro also says, but where is Omega? He ran off in a fit of annoyance at boredom. And Heartnote says, that's Omega. He's always like that. And Zuka says, agreed. And while dealing with a good talking, Omega and Tauros were fighting, and Omega is winning, but Torios then chooses a person to have his strength taking over the body, and it was Bakugo. And Omega gets to Zuki, and Zuki says, Omega, what's up? And Omega says, we're dealing with another EM wave, and its name is Torios. It took over a classmate of yours. And Zuki says, right. And Jiro says, good to see you, Omega. So, you talked to Heartnote? Yep. Is she? And Zuki says, she's on our side. And Omega says, good. We need help for this one. And that's where I'm ending this video. I hope you liked this video and hope you subscribe. See you next time. Plus Ultra.